Alright, grade 12, we met once again here for maths class. The lesson for today will be focusing on financial mathematics. However, if you do have some problems with any part, with any topic in mathematics and physical science, do not hesitate to hit me on my email here. That's at mycyan.95@gmail.com. You can also hit me on my WhatsApp number 07157686614. Okay, guys, without even wasting any couples of times, just allow me to take you through the checklist of financial mathematics. But we'll start by just discussing the language for financial mathematics. Remember, when we deal with the financial mathematics, we actually deals with the symbols. We represent a statement in words, but by a symbol, right? We have got these letters that we actually use, such as that the value of A, I, N, P, X, and F as the last letter here. Whereas the A is representing your final amount. Then the I representing the interest rate. And representing the number of time interest is calculated. P representing the principal or present value. Letter X representing the installment. Lastly, we have got our letter F representing the future value. That's it. That's it. So we use all these letters in financial mathematics, but obviously they're not going to indicate any of these symbol on your information or your scenario. You'd be finding maybe an amount representing the final amount, such as the interest rate. They're not going to write a letter I, but also they're not going to write the letter N, but they will show you the period, the number of times interest is calculated. P representing the principal or present value. They will just show you the amount, either principal or present value, whereas the X just dealing with an installment. F representing just the future value. So you have to memorize all of these letters before you do anything else. And that's it. So just allow me to remove this first so I can take you to the next step. So now when it's come to the formulas, guys, it is very much important to know which formula to use depending on the information that you'd be using at that particular situation. So I'm going to show you some other technique of figuring which formula to use here. First of all, you have to always ask yourself this. What is it that you have to always ask yourself? As dealing with the installment, not like every time you'll find information involving the installment. Sometimes they can give you a scenario not having the installment that have been made there. So you have to note that. So you have to always master this. Is there an installment or not? You have to always ask yourself this when you approach the question: is there an installment or not? Then if yes, if it's not, yeah, it is. If you find that there's no installment have been made, meaning where you have got these two formulas to use. Obviously, depending whether you're dealing with the simple interest or the compounded one. So if there's no an installment that have been made, we have got two formulas to consider. The first one, which is the simple interest formula, denoted as the letter P equals to P, A equals to P into 1 plus I multiplied by N. Remember, where A representing your principal amount, P representing the A representing the final amount, whereas the P representing your principal amount here. I interest rate, where N representing just the number of times interest is calculated. So if you find that it is based on the compounded one, this is the right formula for you to use. The compound interest, we have got our formula denoted as A equals to P into 1 plus I to the power of N. Same applies here. A is still representing your final amount, whereas the P representing the principal amount. I interest rate and number of times interest is calculated. So these two formulas we consider if we figure it out that there was no an installment that have been made. These are the two formulas that we have to use. Then let's take it if there is an installment on the informations. The informations is involving the installment. Involving the installment, we have got two formulas as well. One formula, which is the future value. F, it is equals to X for installment. 1 plus I for interest rate to the power of N, number of term interest is calculated, minus 1. Then everything have to be divided by interest rate. Let me focus my camera a bit here. This is your future value. Then the second one, we have got a present value. Present value, this formula is denoted as the P. It is equals to X. 1 minus 1 plus I to the power of negative N. Everything have to be divided by I. So there we go, guys. If you're dealing with the part of the installment or not, you have to always ask yourself this. Because most of learners, they don't know which formula to use when they analyze the informations. So this is the more useful technique that you can also use. If your information does not involve the part of the installment, you have to think about these two formulas. If you're dealing with the simplest interest or the simple interest, the compounded one is the right formula to use. If the installment, it is there, this are the two formulas that you have to use. You might be asking yourself, okay, now yes, let's take it for instance, maybe we are dealing with the installment, and then when do I know which formula to use between the future value and the present value, because they both represent the installment part. I'm going to discuss about this. You don't have to worry. Same applies here. You don't have to worry. Then now what I want you to master is to master the part of what must I do, or which formula do I consider if we're dealing with the installments, no installment on the given scenario. That's it. So let me take you further. So now I want to elaborate the formulas. So when do we use the part of the future value formula? Yes, the installment, it is the otherwise scenario, the information. But when do I know, or when do we see whether we have to consider or go with the future value? For future value formula, which is f equals to x 1 plus I for interest, and the number of times interest is calculated minus 1, everything divided by I. So dealing with this formula, you have to see, let me just focus my camera a bit here so you can see. This formula, you have to use it for what? You have to know when we're using this formula for what? When dealing with the investment, together with the sinking funds. Lastly, when you're dealing with the annuities, it is when you use the future value. So if you have the if you check and see the information taking you through any of this, either when you're dealing with the investment, the sinking funds, together with the annuities, this is the right formula for you to use. But first of all, you have to analyze the part of the installment. If you figure out that there is an installment, you have to select either present or the future value. So here we have got information that shows us when to use the future value. We use the future value for investment, the sinking funds, and the annuities. So you have to note only these few checklists here. Then after that is where you can able to see now this is the future value, this is the present value without guessing, right? Okay, let me show you the one for present value. Present value, our formula is just the P, it is equals to X 1 minus 1 plus I to the power of negative N, everything divided by I. So we use this formula for what? This formula we use it for, have a look here, dealing with the loans. If you have a look, maybe if you are having any information at the table dealing with the loans, you have to know that this is the present value. Remember, we future means that we are investing for future. Present is something that we're just doing it for at that particular time, right? Okay, when you're dealing with the loans, you can't take the loan for saving for future. Then this one you have to pay back. But for future, we're just saving amount. So when it's come to the loans part, you have to know that is the part of the present value, and you have to note something that when you have amount or when you have money in the bank, and you want to withdraw, money, you can also consider this. So there's nothing much when it's come to the present value. You just have to know that it deals with the loans, or if you have money in the bank, you want to withdraw the money as well. So it is where you can go with the present value. But don't forget that this present value and the future value, we use them all, whereas we are dealing with the installments. If there's no installment part, we go with the part of the simple interest and the compound interest. That is the grade 11 revisions there. It's the grade 11 part there. But this part of the installment now, it involves the grade 12 level. So there we go. But it's not all about the present value and the future value. It's not all about these two formulas we have. We still have more of them. Let me take you to another formula or another information. regarding the part of the finance. So there is a part where you'd be dealing with the balance. You'd be dealing with the balance. What is a balance just in general? We know that a balance is just an amount you have in an account, right? Or you owe the bank at a specific time. That is just the balance and amount. Just allow me to write it down here. Amount that you have in an account, yes. Or you owe the bank at a specific time. We call it as a balance. So how do we work with the balance here? I'm going to show you the formulas for dealing with the balance, because sometimes they can ask you to calculate the balance. That's it, depending on the scenario that you'd be dealing with. But we have got just the two formulas that we use here to calculate the balance. And number one, it is when if the total number of payments is known. You have to note this. You have to note this down. If the total number of payments is known, then it is known, then you have to use the following formula to calculate the balance. You're going to use the formula, this one, the balance, it is equal to x for installment 1 minus into 1 plus I to the power of negative n divided by I. Don't forget that this n, let me just emphasize the point here that this n, it is representing the number of payments left. Right. If you do have the number of payments left, you can able to use this formula to calculate the balance. So that's why here I indicated when I start, if the total number of payments is known, this is the right formula for you to use, because you're just going to substitute here on your value of n. Put it in mind that this n is the number of payments left. So the second formula for calculating the balance, it is when it is given to you that if the total number of payments is not known, it is not known, then now to calculate your balance, I'll report my camera here. Now to calculate the balance, we're going to use this formula. Balance is going to be P1 plus I to the power of n minus the x 1 plus I to the power of n minus 1. Everything divided by I. Don't forget that this n is the same n we're talking about, and this n, it is the number of payments already made. Don't forget, note this down, that n is the number of payments already made. As the number of payment already made. That's it guys. When you're dealing with the balance here, I'm just taking you through the formulas, guys. I want you to master the formula and know how to differentiate all of them before you tackle down the questions. Lastly, we have got another formula here. Also, we have got our part of dealing with the nominal rate and the effective rate, right? We have got that formula that you have to put into consideration as well the effective. These two formulas help each other, so you can able to convert the effective to the nominal rates. You can able to move from the nominal rates to the effective. That's why I can indicate by these two arrows, so you can able to see what's happening here. It is all about the conversion here. Nominal rate, so under the effective, it's going to produce the 1 plus IEFF equals to inom 1 plus inom, the nominal divided by n divided by to the power of n. And you know that it is representing what, right? We discussed more about this. So we're still going to do some example, guys, so you can able to see how to use the formulas, guys. Just allow me just to end here, then we're going to just continue on the next lesson. We're going to have would be just taking down some questions. Bye.